turn the page together and continue chanting the words that teach us how we place the Shema into daily use. We join and chant the words as they were given to us in Torah, the words of V'ahavta. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol libacha v'chol nafshecha v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadbarim ha'ele asher anochi nitzavcha hayom al levavecha ושיננת לבניך ודיברת בשבתך ובביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשכבך ושרתם לראות בידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו עשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. I included in my message today, for those that didn't read it yet, the idea of what life is like for dogs in Israel. I think that's interesting because we are about to sing the words that brought us into the land of Eretz Yisrael. Yes, there would be a 40-year waiting period, but we would cross through the Sea of Reeds, through the Red Sea, wander in the desert, and eventually make our way into the Promised Land. And now, of course, we read and we see all the headlines that constantly inundate our news feeds about what life is like in Israel. And as someone who just returned about 2 weeks ago, less than that now, about 10 days ago, I come back to report that what you read in the news is not what is happening on the ground. Yes, we were there when strikes were happening in Iran and strikes were happening in Jordan, but you wouldn't tell from the packed cafes, from the people walking the Tayalet, the boardwalk, from the 10,000 people that I joined with for a World Cup watch party 2 nights in a row. By the way, the vast majority of them, when they were watching France, who stood up and sung the French national anthem, telling you how many French citizens have made aliyah in the last 3 years due to the rising anti-Semitism. The streets were alive, but they weren't just alive with people and music and drinks and food. You can imagine Tel Aviv is an outdoor city, much like any city in Florida. 12 months out of the year, you can be outside. So what might be a tiny space for 6 people on the inside turns into seating for 30 on the outside. The cafes spill out into the streets. And neighborhoods like Nachlat Benyamin are packed with people who make me look like a dinosaur for my age. But beyond the people, the city is packed with dogs. They are everywhere. They are on the boardwalk. They are on the beach. Yes, they are on buses, and they are on trains, and they are on the subway. They are being held by 1, 2, 3 people as they are walking through the streets of the city. And it goes to show you what it means to enter into the Promised Land. It doesn't just mean that we have a place in which we can pray, although it means that too. And it doesn't just mean a place where we are the majority and we're explaining why we are celebrating Rosh Hashanah and why we are celebrating Pesach matter. And those exist too. But it's also a place where we can just be a normal people. Not everything about Israel is scandalous. Not everything about Israel is unique. It is a country like more than 200 other countries in the world. And so when you walk down the street in Tel Aviv, when we cross in through the Red Sea like we did into our Promised Land, we find not only things that enrich us as Jews, but we find things that enrich us as simply Israelis, as those who walk down the street of the normalcy of a beautiful evening, and a father and a mother, a son or a daughter holding that dog because it is their country. It is their home. And so there is things that bring a smile to my face, but one of the most is walking through those streets of Israel, whether it be Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, Akko, Sfat, down to Eilat, and seeing people living normal, ordinary lives. We should be so lucky for one day that to be covered in the news, and for it not to all be about wars and rockets. So as we sing our Micha Mocha this evening on page 158, we do so realizing that sometimes standing on the sea, standing on the shore and entering into our promised land doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as simple as taking the dog for a walk. Standing at the sea, Micha Mocha, standing at the sea, Micha Mocha, standing at the sea, Micha Mocha, freedom's on our way. Singing and dancing, Micha Mocha, singing and dancing, Micha Mocha, singing and dancing, Micha Mocha, freedom's on our way. Freedom, freedom. Micha Mocha, they're coming up behind. Micha Mocha, they're coming up behind. Micha Mocha, freedom's on our way. Found no more. Micha Mocha, found no more. Micha Mocha, found no more. Micha Mocha, freedom's on our way. Freedom, freedom. There's a reason we call it Shabark Shalom and not Shabark Friday afternoon or Shabark Thursday night or Shabark Sunday morning. Yes, the name just works really well. But it is because we gather together on Shabbat. That is what we do. That is what makes us unique. And there are those that say that celebrating, that keeping Shabbat has been the single thing that has kept the Jewish people alive for thousands of years. That if it weren't for the fact that we had Shabbat in which to join around, to separate ourselves, to carve out for ourselves, that Judaism would have been lost long ago. And so we become the latest links to that moment, whether 2